Happy Eva. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. How you doing? Especially whoever sent this to me as a request. For some reason, I don't have your name, but I feel like somebody sent this to me. Australia's $64 billion mega railway by the B1M. I'm not familiar with this channel, but they've got 3.4 million subscribers, so apparently they don't suck. I'm actually curious about this channel. 3 million subscribers. Damn. For construction. The definitive video channel for construction. That's pretty awesome. $64 billion mega railway. That sounds pretty sick. That's what we need over here in America. You know, I've heard people say in some of the videos, like, Australia is kind of like America in that you need a car to get around for the most part. Well, a $64 billion mega railway should help with that.
Sydney is getting bigger. A lot bigger. The Australian city is in the middle of building one of the biggest suburban rail projects in the world. This is a $64 billion infrastructure mega project unrivaled in size and scope, extending the city in nearly every direction.
Can I just say, isn't that crazy? The scope of these projects is mind-blowing when they get to this type of scale. $64 billion. Like, hey, can you just maybe, like, add an extra one? Like, I don't know, like, just lose $1 million and send it to me? No one will notice. It's amazing.
In size and scope, extending the city in nearly every direction. By 2030, Sydney will have 113 kilometres of new metro rail and 46 new...
Oh my god, 113 kilometres. I have to convert that to freedom units. 70 miles.
Stations.
That is a long way.
Driverless trains will run every 4 minutes beneath the harbour and CBD.
You know, this is stupid, but I kind of didn't... What does it mean, driverless trains? Does a train still need a driver? I get that there's a dude up front doing something, like the conductor, but I really wasn't sure what he does anymore. I assume it's automated. But okay, these are driverless.
The country's largest underground railway cavern has been created in the process, as well as its longest transport tunnels. Not since the Harbour Bridge, constructed almost a century ago, has Sydney built such a colossal and, quite frankly, city-defining project.
When's it gonna be done?
Sydney is a city divided. Its iconic harbours make for beautiful postcards, but are an urban planner's nightmare. The north and south of the city are cut off from each other. Now, the history of Sydney...
It seems like that's the way a lot of cities are. They were built around like a river or a port or whatever.
Sydney's infrastructure has been the history of bridging this gap. Most famously and literally with the Sydney Harbour Bridge in 1932, the tallest steel arch bridge in the world.
Wow.
It took until 1992 to build the second crossing, the Sydney Harbour Tunnel, a dual
I didn't even know there was a tunnel.
carriageway that burrows under the water for nearly a kilometre, connecting North Sydney to the Central Business District, or CBD.
That's sick. I had no idea that existed. I've never been under an ocean in a tunnel.
Now, more than 30 years later, the Sydney Metro is the city's next major crossing, and it's being built in 4 phases. The first has actually already been completed, Sydney Metro North West. It became operational back in 2019, cost 7.3 billion Australian dollars, and included 36 kilometres of track between Chatswood and Rouse Hill. A staggering 15 kilometres of tunnels, 4 kilometres of bridges, and 8 new stations were also built just as part of that phase. The second step, Sydney Metro West, features 24 kilometres of underground metro rail connecting Parramatta to Sydney CBD, and that's going to cost 25.
Every time I see Sydney CBD, I just think of CBD. That's what they sell over here in the States. When marijuana isn't legal in a state, they'll sell like CBD, or even when it is, they'll sell CBD stuff, which is some kind of oil that does something. I don't know what it does, guys. but I can't help but think of that every time I see that.
5 billion Australian dollars. Now, that's pretty vital because Parramatta is being set up as Sydney's future second downtown. That phase of the railway is due to be completed in 2030. The third phase includes the connection to
Wait, when?
is due to be completed in 2030.
2030. You know, that's coming up.
The third phase includes the connection to Western Sydney Airport, costing $11 billion. This new international airport will open in 2026 and is
No way.
expected to service more than 10 million passengers each year, easing the burden on Sydney's main airport, which accommodates one of the busiest passenger air routes in the world. But perhaps
That's incredible. A whole nother airport in Sydney.
the most exciting phase of the project
Sydney really is expanding, huh?
is the Sydney Metro City and Southwest section that's being built right now. This part of the project consists of two main components. The first is the conversion of 11 stations on part of the existing Bankstown line for use by autonomous driverless trains. The second is a new 15.5-kilometre twin-tunnel rail crossing under Sydney Harbour and through the city. That new tunnel bores 40 metres below the glittery surface of the Sydney Harbour where it reaches the CBD. Carved from sandstone, it's the largest single rail line to be constructed under central Sydney since the City Circle Underground Railway was completed in the 1950s. It's a feat of engineering that included the construction of Australia's largest underground railway cavern at Victoria Cross Station. The mammoth space is 265 metres long, 25 metres wide, and 20 metres high. In terms of length, that's
Incredible.
comparable to Sydney's recently completed Salesforce Tower lying on its site. Or for those of you not down under, San Francisco's Transamerica Pyramid. It's absolutely huge. Inside this cavern,
Unfathomable.
31 metres below the streets of Sydney, a new station is currently taking shape. Escalators, a mezzanine, and the platform that future commuters will use are all being constructed. In 2019, tunnel boring machines broke through into the cavern and connected the station to the new train network. It's these machines that have been hard at work beneath the streets of Sydney and under the harbour. 16 of them will
That is so cool.
have been used on the metro expansion once it's completed. You can kind of think of them like enormous sandstone-eating worms. They
I've seen these because of the Elon Musk.
operate
I don't know. To be honest, he kind of acted like he invented this. Like this is the boring company. I don't know. Whatever.
between 35 and 58 metres below Sydney, diving beneath existing infrastructure. They typically weigh more than 1,100 tonnes each and reach 120 metres in length. That's about the weight and length of an A380, the world's largest and heaviest passenger aircraft. They work by slowly cutting through rock at the speed of roughly 120 metres a week. They each have a cutter head, which in itself weighs 100 tonnes. That acts as a drill and can tunnel through rock 6 times harder than concrete. The rock is crushed by high-strength alloy steel discs on the cutter head. These rocks are then scooped into the machine's head and onto a conveyor belt, which carries them through the length of the machine and out into the tunnel behind it.
This type of shit is it's mind-blowing to me, man. It's unbelievable. The scale of technology like this and to manufacture something like this and for it to actually work just blows my mind.
Before transporting it up to the surface. Concrete ring segments are delivered to the building area up front and put in place to hold up the tunnel. Each concrete ring is connected to the previous one in a long chain, and that's how the tunnel is built, piece by piece. Each TBM includes a crew of up to 10 people working on them, including an operator at any one time. Inside them are offices, a kitchen, and even a bathroom. A state-of-the-art navigation system keeps these machines on track at all times and ensures they don't accidentally drill into something they're not supposed to.
I was going to say, like, what if they find something, you know? What if they find gold?
By 2030, these 16 machines will have completed more than 56 kilometres worth of tunnels. That's more than was built to connect Paris and London. Of particular interest is a specialised TBM that had to be purpose-built to dig under Sydney Harbour. It's called a slurry TBM and was used to cut through the different ground conditions in the seabed. It used pipes and fluid to control the pressure in the machine by turning the excavated material into a slurry and then pumping it out.
So is the tunnel under the harbor just under the water or also under the sea floor?
This means the excavated rocks were crushed and mixed with fluids so they could be more easily
I guess it's also underneath like the sediment down there.
removed from the tunnel. This massive infrastructure push will go a long way to addressing the needs of Sydneysiders both now and in the future. By the middle of the century, Sydney's population is expected to increase by up to 60%.
You know, that's interesting. I've never looked up Sydney's population in like a graph. Just Australia. Which I'm just curious. Since he's talking about it. 5 million people in Sydney. That is a big city. I need a graph. Come on. Assuming it's the blue line and not the green line, it is going up. Oh, okay. The green line is the growth. Got it. Wow. Just 1.5 million people there in 1950. Now almost 6. No wonder housing is so expensive.
Now, not all of those people can or should be driving cars to get around. The city is notoriously congested and has by far the most traffic of any in Australia. In fact, New South Wales is spending $16 billion alone over the next 5 years just to address this congestion and expand Sydney's roads. But new roads won't be enough. Sydney, like many major cities around the world right now, is facing a reckoning when it comes to its over-reliance on cars. And expanding its metro in such a massive and thorough way will provide Sydneysiders with a valid new mode of transport. The history of Sydney really has been the history of bridging its divides. And this enormous $63 billion mega project brings each side of the harbour just that little bit closer. Don't forget that we're inspiring the next generation of builders through our investment into Brickborrow, a fantastic LEGO subscription service.
Okay. That's sick. You love to see cities investing in themselves. You know, that's just good. I think that's a good sign, especially in their infrastructure. That's a great investment. I think America needs to do more of that. We've been doing some. We need to do more of that. That's awesome. That'll be sick. I wonder how many times it'll get delayed. I mean, something like that over here in America, they'd say, oh, it's going to be done by 2030. 2030 will come and go. People will forget they're even doing it. 2035 will roll around, and they'll be like, okay, we're done. And you'll be like, oh my God, I forgot you were doing that. That's awesome. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.